When I have leftover paint, I try to put it on a canvas, and this one was already textured right here. I put some flowers on it earlier. So I'm going to incorporate this into a canvas for my uncle who turns 90 this month. This is some watercolor paper, and I'm going to draw some guidelines with a ruler on it to make a pattern for 9 and 0. I'll use the rounded edges of a jar lid to make the numbers rounded, and then I'll cut them out and place them on the canvas and trace them. Right now my idea is to paint these in, but I'm going to save the pattern just in case I change my mind and decide to use the pattern. So here I've sketched in 90 in years, and I started stenciling some of the background with Radiant Gel Dimensional Paint. The idea here isn't to do the whole stencil, but just to give your canvas some more texture. I spread the paint with a credit card if I wanted thick paint, and used a makeup sponge if I wanted it thin. I used Stays-On to stamp on some butterflies and some dragonflies onto the canvas. And now I'm painting in some of the flowers and the dragonflies and the butterflies with some shimmery paints from ColourArte. I'm glad I saved my number 90 pattern because I'm not liking the way this paint looks. So I'm going to end up painting that under with just some white acrylic paint. I'm enjoying the background, but I just don't like the lettering. When you don't like something, don't quit. Just redo it. Do something different. Keep working until it's pleasing to your eye. All of ColourArte's paints have a shimmer to them. I'm not really a big fan of glitter, but I really like the shimmer, the metallic look of these paints. You can mix primary elements or artist pigments with any water-soluble liquid and make a paint all to suit yourself, but I'm mixing it with primary elements, clear gloss medium. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. I changed my lighting because it just wasn't showing the richness of the colors in the background, but you can see it now. I'm going to do several coats of this solar gold on top of this white acrylic paint to give it the richness that I want. It starts out a little light, then you let it dry, and you add another coat. I really like this because it gives me more control over whether the paint is going to be transparent or more opaque. I always turn my canvas in the direction that makes it more comfortable for me to work and paint. And here's a little secret that I've finally decided to share with you. Do you see that background? Well, I thought I was filming the background, showing you how I put in the leaves and made the leaves and textured everything and painted in the dragonflies. I wasn't. I turned my camera off instead of on, and after it was all finished, it was a little too late to film. I am so right-brained when I'm in my mode of painting that I just didn't even realize the camera was off. You're going to notice that this white background that I painted with acrylic paint is going to make this paint shine better. If I put in black, it would have a completely different appearance. The gold shows up nicely on the black, but the end result would definitely be different. This is particularly true for any paint that has a transparency to it, as these paints do. But any painter knows that the base color that you put in is going to make a difference in the overall finished painting. A lot of people start with a burnt umber or a raw umber whenever they're painting portraits or landscapes, and they put in the values first. And the reason they do that is because it makes a difference in the overall painting when they're finished. It doesn't take long for this to dry, so I'll come back in just a few minutes and put a second coat over this, maybe a third. Now I'm going to show you a technique I used to make some little rays that radiated out from this cloud-like shape to make it look like it's glowing. I used the edge of a piece of notebook paper or any straight edge and just run a little bit of paint off of the edge of it, and it makes these little radiating lines. Usually run it vertical up and down to the paper also, but You use a dry brush, in other words, wipe your brush off a little bit on something else after you dip into the paint before you actually start painting on the canvas with this technique. Dry brushing means that your brush has a little bit of paint in it and not a lot of liquid. I think the general public really likes this technique because I make crosses. I paint crosses with this technique with a light radiating from the back. And almost every time I do, it sells as fast as I can paint it. And here it is all colored in. See how bright it looks because I put that white background down first. These are the patterns I used earlier, but I'm going to use them as a component in my art now. I attached the numbers with clear gel medium, cut out a pattern for the word years on watercolor paper again. Then I made sure that it would fit the right area. I painted it under with olive vine radiant gels, attached it with gel medium to the canvas, and I'm all finished.